Hello and welcome to our new video. This is the Philips Sonicare 9900 Prestige. We have reviewed this electric toothbrush for you, and you'll find out everything you need to know in this video. So just stay tuned. Let's get started with the Philips Sonicare 9900 Prestige. Before we get to the practical part, we'll first give you an overview in our features and technology section. The 9900 Prestige is a sonic toothbrush. This means that, unlike rotating oscillating brushes, it works with sonic vibrations. In the case of the Prestige, a total of 62,000 movements per minute are used to clean the teeth and interdental spaces. In addition, the 9900 Prestige is equipped with a total of 5 cleaning programs and 3 intensity settings, and offers a battery runtime of up to 2 weeks if you brush twice a day for 2 minutes each time. The charging time is 16 hours, which puts the Philips in the lower to mid-range in our test. An indicator light at the bottom of the appliance gives you a rough overview of the battery status. In order to protect the gums, the 9900 Prestige has a pressure control that indicates excessive pressure acoustically, tangibly, and visually via a violet light ring. The illuminated ring also warns of excessive scrubbing or rubbing. This will be indicated in yellow rather than purple. The integrated 2-minute timer also ensures that you keep an eye on the brushing time recommended by dentists, and the 6-quadrant timer helps you to pay the same amount of attention to the individual areas in your mouth. As an additional feature, the 9900 Prestige comes with the so-called Sense IQ technology, which uses sensors to continuously measure movement and pressure, and then adapts the brush to your brushing habits in real time. Finally, there is a change indicator that prompts you to replace the brush. There's also the smart part of the toothbrush, meaning the option to connect to the Sonicare app via Bluetooth. We'll tell you a bit more about this later on. The scope of delivery includes the handpiece, an attachable brush including a protective cap, and a charging station that enables inductive charging. Last but not least, we get a USB travel case with a charging function. By the way, you can find the link to the Philips 9900 Prestige below the video in the description. And if the video was helpful to you, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. You quickly get the feeling that the 9900 Prestige stands out compared to other toothbrushes while working with it. At 122 grams, it is one of the lighter devices in terms of its weight, and is the quietest toothbrush we have tested so far at around 55 decibels. The noise, on the other hand, is not so great. As is usual with sonic toothbrushes, it is rather high-pitched, and is somewhat unpleasantly reminiscent of a mosquito. The vibration on the hands is a little better. The 9900 Prestige is one of the better toothbrushes in our comparison. Even if you can get a slight tingling sensation on your hands, it is not as annoying as with some other devices. Otherwise, the toothbrush feels good in the hand and has a high-quality finish with its matte look. Operation via the start button works well in itself, but the pressure point could be better. The same applies to the intensity settings. You can switch back and forth between the 3 levels via touch. It works well in itself, but it is easy to miss a button because the touch area has been kept quite small. The cleaning modes, on the other hand, can only be operated via the app, which can be a bit annoying. A total of 5 programs are available here, namely Clean and Deep Clean for daily cleaning and to remove plaque, White Plus to combat superficial discoloration, Gum Health for massaging the gums, and Sensitive if it has to be a bit more delicate. As each of these settings can be used in one of the 3 intensity levels already mentioned, the toothbrush offers many setting options and is therefore, in our opinion, suitable for beginners, advanced, and experienced users alike. The pressure control is well balanced and is not too sensitive. A positive aspect compared to other devices is that the pressure control is displayed acoustically, visually, and tangibly. This makes it almost impossible to miss them. The same applies to the scrubbing control, which is a unique feature. Of the brushes we tested, only the Prestige can do this. The timer function also does its job neatly and tidily. A short stop signals very clearly that you should change the jaw quadrant. And at the end of the recommended brushing time of 2 minutes, the toothbrush simply switches off. This is a bit annoying if you haven't finished and want to continue brushing, but you can't miss the end of the timer. A special feature compared to other brushes, however, is that the quadrant timer is subdivided into 6 areas instead of 4. As with many other devices, the whole topic of battery and charging is something that strikes us as negatives. With a charging time of 16 hours, which is relatively long for battery-powered devices, it is still positive to note that there are significantly worse brushes on the market that even need up to 24 hours. Nevertheless, the charging time is not particularly appealing for a device in this price range. At least the battery indicator allows you to keep a rough overview of the battery status. This means that the battery is full when the LED lights up white. If the LED starts flashing white, the battery is only partially charged. If the LED flashes yellow and you hear 3 beeps, the battery is almost empty. And if you hear 2 series of beeps with the LED flashing yellow, the battery is empty. If you then go to the charging station, you will not only see a corresponding charging indicator, but also hear a sound. Although this is only a tiny detail, it is very useful in the daily routine because you don't have to make sure that the device is really charging. The various features that are included in this price range are a positive highlight. You don't just get a simple charging station, but a station that charges the toothbrush via induction. The travel case is also not just a transport container, but comes with a USB cable that can be used to charge the toothbrush in the case. This means that you don't have to lug the charging station with you on your vacation. The case is more than enough. A key feature with which Philips is obviously also trying to compete with Oral-B's IO9 is the linking of the toothbrush with the Sonicare app. Of course, this sounds very much like a gimmick, and you inevitably have to ask yourself, what is the highlight of such an app? In the end, it's actually relatively easy to figure out. The toothbrush apps usually have a whole host of smaller functions, but at their core, tooth tracking is the most interesting feature. The top dog here so far is the IO9, which can actually recognize which area of the tooth you're currently brushing, and also which tooth surface you are currently on. This allows the app to guide the user through the brushing cycle in real time and show whether all areas and surfaces of the teeth have been completely cleaned. Now, the question naturally arises as to whether the expensive Prestige from Philips can compete here. To put it in a nutshell, the answer is no. In our opinion, there is no sophisticated tooth tracking here, as was the case with the IO9, and essentially for 2 reasons. Firstly, not all tooth areas are shown in the Sonicare app. Only the inner and outer surfaces are shown. The chewing surfaces are not displayed. The IO, on the other hand, has significantly more depth of detail, with all the main surfaces displayed via small white dots in the middle. Secondly, the Philips toothbrush doesn't really know where it is in the mouth. Instead, you get the impression that it only works if you follow the app's predefined brushing sequence. Please don't misunderstand. You do get the feeling that the brush is picking up on things a bit, but in contrast to the IO9, which recognizes quite precisely where in the mouth you are working, the Prestige seems more like a slimmed-down version of it. You could perhaps say it's more like some kind of cleaning scheme, which is nice, but simply falls short if you compare it to the IO9, especially in regards to its price point. Maybe we've missed something. Maybe it works better with a different brush. Be that as it may, the version we have doesn't have much to do with real tooth tracking in the end. As already mentioned, the app also offers all kinds of nice features. You can see how many cleaning cycles the brush has left before it needs to be replaced. You can add problematic areas and get tips and instructions. You can make settings on the brush, such as switching the scrubbing control on or off. And of course, there are a whole bunch of statistical evaluations of your brushing behavior that can help you to optimize your oral hygiene. As I said, nice features, but do you really need them? Most of it probably not. Now let's get down to the essentials, namely the actual brushing with the toothbrush. Let's hear what Remo has to say about how it felt.
An
At
dieser
this
Stelle
point,
möchte ich
I would
einmal
like to
meine
describe my
Erfahrung schildern, wie
experience
ich
of
gemacht
brushing my
habe, als
teeth
ich
with
mir
the
mit der
Philips
Philips
Sonicare.
Sonicare die Zähne geputzt habe.
But
Aber
first, I would like
vorher
to
möchte
share
ich noch
something
was anderes
else.
mitgeben. Wenn ihr
If
noch
you haven't
keine
had any
Erfahrung mit
experience with
elektrischen
electric
Zahnbürsten
toothbrushes,
gemacht habt,
then
dann stellt
definitely
euch
be
auf
prepared
jeden
for
Fall auf
vibrations,
Vibration.
especially with sonic
Insbesondere bei
toothbrushes.
Ultraschallzahnbürsten. Hier ist es
The
wirklich
fact is
so,
that the
dass man
vibrations in the
bereits
shaft
schon
are
im Schaft
so
so
strong
starke
that it can be
Vibrationen hat,
very
dass es
unpleasant
unter
under certain
Umständen sehr
circumstances.
unangenehm sein
There is
kann.
a
Es
pretty
triggert
strong
extrem
tingling
nervös
sensation
auf
on
der
the lip
Lippe,
and
auch auf
also
der
on the
Zunge.
tongue.
Wenn man das
If you're
nicht
not
richtig
used to
kennt,
this, it can
kann
be
das schon
quite
ziemlich
annoying.
nervig sein.
Sure, you can get used
Klar,
to
man kann
everything,
sich an
but it's
alles
not always that
gewöhnen,
easy.
aber es ist nicht immer einfach. Die
The
Sonicare
Sonicare
macht
makes
es
it a bit
einem
more
dann doch schon
comfortable
ein
because
bisschen
it's really
leichter,
quite
denn
easy
hier
to
hat man
get
das
along with
wirklich
the
recht gut in
performance
den
here,
Griff bekommen, besonders
especially
für
for an ultrasonic
unbewaffnete
toothbrush, in my
Versuchsdinger.
opinion.
Dennoch ist es so,
Nevertheless,
dass
the
man hier
vibrations here are very
unspürbare
noticeable.
Vibration
You can
hat. Man
feel it
merkt
on
es
your
die
lip
ganze
all the
Zeit
time.
an der Lippe.
However,
Allerdings
you
ist
kind
es
of
so,
forget
dass es
about it
beim
after 2 or
Zähneputzen
3
geht.
minutes
Die
of brushing your
Nachteile
teeth
nur
and you
schon
get
ziemlich
used to it.
schnell und man gewöhnt sich gut dran. Auf
In
jeden
any
Fall
case, the
kommen die
power
Power
reaches the
oben
top
an
of
die
the
Borsten
bristles,
an und
and
das ist
that's the
das
most important
Wichtigste,
thing,
denn
because
wir
we want
wollen
our
ja, dass
teeth
die
to be
Zähne
cleaned
sauber
properly.
werden. Hier kann man
And you
sehr
can really feel
natürlich
how
die
the bristles
Borsten bei
move into
jeder
the
Berührung
interdental
gegen die
spaces with
Zahnzwischenräume
every move you make.
bewegen.
It seems to
Dort
be
will sich die
cleaning properly, and
Sauberung
you
und
can
das
do
kann man
this tooth
schön
by
Zahn
tooth.
für Zahn durchziehen.
The cleaning result you
Das
feel
Gefühl
is
des
therefore pretty good.
Reinigungsergebnisses ist somit ziemlich gut. Klar, jetzt haben wir
Well,
ein
we
sehr
do
hohes
perceive a very
Level
high
an
level of hygiene, but
gefühlter
I have to be honest.
Reinlichkeit, aber ich muss ganz ehrlich
For
sagen,
a toothbrush
für
in
eine
this price
Zahnbürste
segment,
im
I might have
guten
expected a
preislichen
little
Feld hätte ich mir
more.
vielleicht ein bisschen mehr erwartet. Denn
After
Dort
all,
nutzen
much
die
cheaper devices in
Vergleiche
the
aus
mid-price
mittel-
segment
und
basically deliver
Preissegmenten
the same
und
cleaning
liefern im
sensation.
Prinzip ein gleiches Reinigungsgefühl.
So much for our subjective cleaning impression. And no, we are no dentists or dental specialists. Nevertheless, we at least want to give you an impression for how well the Philips Prestige actually performs. To do this, we got ourselves a dental model and colored it properly with dissolved plaque tablets. We then cleaned according to the instructions. As this is a sonic toothbrush, we brushed along the teeth with low pressure and at a slight angle. We also tried to let the longer bristles slide into the spaces between the teeth. Again, we are no dentists, but from our user's point of view, the result is really impressive and is way ahead in our test. Teeth, interdental spaces, and even tooth pockets have been cleaned well. And as a reminder, you can find the link to the Philips 9900 Prestige below the video in the description. And if the video was helpful to you, please leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. The workmanship seems to be robust and durable. One thing to watch out for with electric toothbrushes, however, is the wear and tear on the brush attachments. These should normally be replaced after around 3 months. The Philips Prestige has the so-called brush sync technology to make it easier to estimate when to change the brush. This measures the wear and tear of the brush and prompts you to change the brush at the appropriate time using an LED. This is of course more convenient than having to remember to change the brush yourself. In combination with the Sonicare app, which also shows the wear and tear, you are always well informed. To clean the electric toothbrush, the brush and bristles should be rinsed under running water after each use. The area between the brush and handpiece should be cleaned once a week and rinsed thoroughly. In our test, this was all easy and there were no problems. The travel case supplied can be used to ensure that the brush doesn't get dirty when you're on the move. Let's come to the conclusion. With the Philips Sonicare 9900 Prestige, you get a sonic toothbrush in the higher price range, which is quite impressive in terms of its cleaning performance and range of functions and features. It is also quite suitable for beginners. The long charging time is a bit annoying, and the fact that you have to use the app to change the cleaning programs is pretty tedious. Otherwise, however, the Prestige is well thought out and only has a few weaknesses. If you compare it to the cheaper Philips Diamond Clean 9000, you can see that there have been some improvements in terms of features and technology. Overall, however, we don't think that the higher price is worth it, not least because the IO9 from Oral-B, which is an alternative in this price range that is clearly ahead if you score it overall. Above all, the Philips Prestige simply cannot beat the technically more advanced app with its well-designed tooth tracking. So if you want an expensive toothbrush, then the IO9 is probably the better choice. If on the other hand, you absolutely have to have a sonic toothbrush, you should consider whether the Diamond Clean might be enough for you.
So,
So
diese
we've tested
20
this
Jahre für
toothbrush
dich
for you.
getestet.
If you're
Wenn sie dich
interested, take a
interessiert,
look at the
dann schau
video
mal unten in
description
die
below.
Videobeschreibung,
You
denn
can
dort
find
ist sie
all the
nochmal
links
für dich
there.
verlinkt.
Otherwise,
Ansonsten würde ich
I'd be
mich freuen, wenn du
delighted if you'd
dranbleibst,
stay
denn im
tuned.
Anschluss
Our
folgt die
Endcard will
Endcard
provide a
mit ein
few
paar
interesting
interessanten
video suggestions
Videovorschlägen.
for you.